Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole.
What's up, Butterfly?
Hey, Firefly, what's going on?
Well, I'm excited to be doing another episode with you. How are you?
I'm really good, and I'm just like kind of bursting at the seams today.
You had another epiphany, I think. Or maybe
Well,
kind of like.
you know how I love epiphanies.
Yeah,
So, but you know what? I feel like this was so huge that I'm going to call it a revelation.
it's so big, it's biblical.
It was, yeah, I really feel like, I don't know, like
It's worldwide.
this could be really huge. So, you know how I keep asking this question, like, we were talking about like who are they?
Yeah.
And I keep kind of going back to this whole question I have, which is, we kind of know who some of they are, and
They who are carrying out the conspiracy to take over the world and
and
enslave us
kill us.
and kill us.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
we know about some of those people or who the like kind of puppets are. But I keep going back to this idea of like, okay, even if, somebody like Bill Gates or Fauci or whatever, like maybe they are some of they, and they have these ideas of how they want to kill us and whatever, poison us.
Yes.
They're
They
not
sit around
actually,
thinking about this kind of
they
stuff.
sit around thinking it, planning it, plotting it. But Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci are not actually like sitting in the lab, like concocting the
No.
chemicals that are going to kill us and put into
There's
the shots.
operatives that kind of carry out their vision.
There's operatives. So I keep thinking like, okay, do they just have like this huge amount of psychopaths that they
Which is feasible.
that they have like these probably like hiring seminars where they come and they say only psychopaths should should apply, but
They're like, I'm sorry, but you're just not quite
you're
psycho
just
enough.
not psycho enough for
We
the
just feel
position.
like you might actually have some compassion.
But I keep thinking like, okay, even if they have a few psychopaths, kind of at the top, like actually making the recipe for these nefarious things that they want to inject into people or coming up with these evil plans to like blow cities up and stuff like that. You know, how how do they like actually pull it off and keep all these secrets?
Yeah.
Because, like I would think at some point, these are such big secrets and so many people involved that somewhere along the line, like this would leak out,
Some guy
you know?
who's just a normal dude is going to get told to do something that's really evil
And he's going
and
to be
maybe
like,
go,
I
wait a minute,
don't know if I want to do that. That's not such a good
that's
idea.
going to like hurt kids and stuff.
Yeah. And, once in a while we get these people that they call whistleblowers.
Yeah.
And they try to like say something's happening, but I don't really think they're at the top and nothing really ever seems to happen with that
I've
stuff.
never seen a whistleblower come out and see like change take place.
No. Or sometimes these like whistleblowers seem to sort of disappear. So I
Yeah.
guess
All of a sudden
occasionally,
they shoot themselves in the head twice in the back of the head.
yeah.
And you're
So
like, well, wait a second. That's
I
kind of weird.
I think occasionally,
Like, oh, that
some
was
of
that
those
one
come
dude
out.
from Boeing.
Mhm.
That dude from Boeing came out and he was like, dude, do not fly on an airplane. And then the next day he was just like, he was found dead in his home. It looks like he died of COVID.
Well, I had this epiphany, which I think is actually a revelation, and I think we might be onto something because I just discovered this show on Apple TV,
That's
which
not close for
which
anything.
is cult programming.
Because Tim Cook runs Apple. And I remember when they were like fake censoring Alex Jones, which we still got to do an Alex Jones episode.
We're
But
getting to that.
remember they were fake censoring him. And
Yeah.
then he had that famous quote where he was like, well, he was like justifying censorship, and he kind of talks like Bill Gates, and he's gay,
Well,
and he goes, uh, well, I think people want to have curated content. So what
yeah.
does that mean? That means that they kind of go, well, you're saying stuff we don't like, so you can't have it on our platform.
But you know how they like to also tell us like what they're actually doing?
Revealing the method.
Yeah,
And
revelation.
I've heard a lot of people talking about how um, they have to do that.
It's
So
part of their
I was thinking it was like how they got off. Like it was like, oh, look at how powerful we are.
look at what we're
But
doing to these little
somebody was
peasants.
mentioning that according to like the cult rules, they have to tell what they're going to do to you.
hmm And it makes it more powerful. Also, it's predictive programming because if people see these things in movies, then they start to get accustomed to the idea. So when it actually comes out, if it comes
Yeah.
out, they're like, I saw that,
That was on that movie Contagion. And now when they're
Hunger
going
have.
through horrific dystopian things, they're like, I kind of feel like I'm in a movie.
Well, anyway, there's this show on Apple TV called Severance. And the whole premise is that these people, they're all brain chipped. Interesting. And
Elon's like, I really like this show.
they're all brain chipped and they go to work every day
Which
and
sucks.
they have absolutely no memory of their outside life when they're at work. And then when they leave work, they have absolutely no memory or recollection of what they do at
Whoa.
work.
See?
Mm,
So then maybe they could go do evil shit all day at work.
they might be doing evil stuff all day long.
And then what happens is at the end of the day, their wife goes, how was your day? And they just go, I'm not really sure,
It
but
was
what's
okay.
for dinner?
Yeah.
So that's how, oh, you know what? That makes sense because then you're not going to have whistleblowers.
Mhm.
You're not going to have people really questioning carrying out the plan. And you're going to have good little obedient slaves who go and do your bidding without really asking any questions.
Right. So, oh my gosh, when I watched an episode of this, I was just like, oh my gosh,
That's how.
could this be what's happening? Could this be how they pull this all off?
And you know what's
You
interesting
know?
is in a few other episodes when we've been talking, you've kind of asked that question, like poked around, just kind of like,
Mhm.
well, I understand that there's evil coming down from the top, and the top is
Making the plan.
they have the plan, they have the evil
They
agenda.
have the blueprint.
Yeah, maybe
Yes.
we're not saying definitively that there is a conspiracy, but there's a very likelihood there could be.
hmm
But what you've always kind of been kind of wondering about was like, well, how does the dude who's like down the street working in like some company doing evil stuff,
Right.
how is he doing it without like stopping and thinking? Now,
Or
there's a
or minimum like mentioning it to
just
somebody,
mentioning it
you know, like to
over
his
dinner
wife
to
or
his
something.
wife, like I killed
And
babies
then
today. It was kind of weird.
yeah, or I just blew up 3 buildings in New York City that
Yeah,
just killed like thousands of people.
yeah,
And she might be like, "Oh, honey,
no.
that wasn't a good idea." And she might actually like not want to be married to that person anymore.
Or she might say, don't say anything because you might lose your job. And we have a Tesla and our kids are going to college. So just go along with it.
But
Which I think might be even more powerful is the notion that you'll lose your social credit score and you're going to lose
if
your
you don't,
economic wherewithal if you don't do this.
right?
And so I think that there could be brain chip people, but there also could be people who they don't have to brain chip because they know they'll do anything to not lose their Tesla and their gated community.
Well, I think that's a big part of like maybe down the line, like the people who might be like, you know, mixing up some of the ingredients that they know are going to do some stuff. But, if this is what's happening or what's been happening, I mean, we know that like the technology that we have for stuff now, we know that they've had it for a lot longer and we don't find out about certain technologies until they've probably already been using these
50,
technologies
60 years.
yeah So they're talking about brain chipping now. It's quite possible they've been brain chipping people for 50 years.
Lots of people.
Lots of people. Or
that explains like some of the people I see walking around in the store, and I'm like, dude,
maybe
what
they're
is
brain
wrong with
chipped.
that person?
Well, and if you can't even go, to that, I mean, it does sound extreme and sci-fi, but like if you can't go that direction, you can at least acknowledge that they've been brainwashing people for 50 years.
If you
We
could
know
get an
that.
app on your phone and you could just point your phone at somebody and it told you, it says brain chip.
Brain chip.
And you're like, oh,
Scan them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm talking to one of the brain chip people. So then you got to kind of
But
deal with them with kid gloves.
yeah, but I mean, I think it's totally plausible that they've been brain chipping people for a long time.
I think that is plausible.
And even if you don't believe that, we know they've been brainwashing people for a long time. So they've MK Ultra mass brainwashing. We know they've been doing this for
mind
at least
control
50
is
years.
kind of like their goal.
Yeah.
It seems like they really spend a lot of time studying about how to Sirhan people.
Exactly. Sirhan.
Because remember Sirhan.
Yeah.
Totally disassociative, and it's, what I think is the crux of it is cognitive dissonance. Because if you're brain chipped, maybe it turns off your ability to overcome cognitive dissonance. So like someone like you or me could come up and just say, could that be evil what you're doing? And just ask a question and you just go, nope, 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 nope. Like for instance, do you remember that video during COVID where the lady goes into the pharmacy and she goes, I want to see the insert right now for the
package
vaccine.
Insert for the
Yeah.
For
And
the
so
pokey.
the pharmacist is like, okay, here. And so he gives it to her and she opens it up and the insert is blank, right?
There's nothing on it. It's just a piece of paper.
It's just a white piece of paper, all folded up real small, like, in those
And
like
usually
Bazooka Joe bubblegum things. It's like, why is it so small?
And usually there's just like, a ton of information on those things with all the ingredients and all the side effects and everything.
But not for the COVID.
This one was blank.
Completely blank. So what does that mean? That means that people are taking the shot without informed consent.
Right.
First of all. And second of all, there's a lot of evidence that's suggesting a lot of people died from taking the shot.
Right.
I'm not saying that you died from taking the shot. Maybe global warming caused a bunch of people to have like strokes and then like maybe have like those rubber things coming out of their veins.
Yeah.
That could be global warming.
But swollen hearts.
Yeah, swollen
heart attacks
hearts,
in children.
Like 16-year-old kids like playing soccer dying. Maybe that was global warming, but it could have been the shots. I'm just saying. So if it was, and that could be the case, but that pharmacist sees that the insert is blank, and then the lady calls it out, and he even says, it's so funny, this is in the video, he goes, I know, I shouldn't be giving out these shots. And then he turns around and he goes back to work.
Just starts giving out more shots.
And it's like, well, dude, wait a second. You just kind of had like a revelation.
Yeah.
You go, wait a second.
Maybe I really shouldn't be doing that.
Every time I give somebody a vaccine, they are not giving me informed consent because they don't know. They're all like that lady. Yeah. I don't ask what's in the infusion. I roll up my arm and I'm taking the infusion. It's like, you go for it, lady. Yeah. I don't want to do that. I'd rather know. Because have you ever seen like some of those videos that break down what's in the vaccine?
Oh, it's not.
There's like dead baby and like there's
HIV.
And
a lot of stuff you don't really want to have.
I don't need dead baby. I didn't wake up this morning going, you know what? I feel a little dead baby deficient.
Yeah.
I think I need a little bit of dead baby with my breakfast.
It's like if people actually read those ingredients, I don't know.
There's some stuff called luciferase.
Some people would still probably be like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I need that.
It looks really bad, but okay. They said they should have.
And those people might have chips in their brain.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they say okay.
Well, and the people that made those things may have chips in their brain.
So how does the brain chip work then? Is there like some dude in Vegas, like in a warehouse, like controlling people's minds?
Yeah. So obviously you got to have like, obviously some psychopaths at the very top, right? Because they're like, but actually what it could be is that maybe there's just really one psychopath. So like Bill Gates, isn't he like a software designer? He could conceivably like be making these brain chips, right? He's a computer nerd. So he could be making or people like him could be making
I
brain
think
chips,
smart people come up with. I think I'm
you
starting to
know?
think Bill Gates and Elon Musk are like salesmen. I
Yeah,
think they're like salesmen at the front,
right. I think you're
but
right.
there's like really smart people who are still evil, but they're really smart and
Yeah,
they kind of know like nanotechnology and
yeah,
stuff, and they're like really like coming up with crazy, gnarly, evil technology.
yeah.
And then Bill Gates is out there selling it, going, if we do a really good job with healthcare, you know?
We can kill a bunch of
Yeah, like, oh, well, define healthcare. Let's unpack that. Well, we're going to put a brain chip so that you don't really know what you're doing all day.
Yeah,
I think, have you ever seen that movie Office Space?
I don't know if I.
It was written by the dude who did Beavis and Butthead. And in Office Space, the dude hates his job, right?
Mhm.
So he's going and talks to the therapist, and he's talking to the therapist, and he's like, is there any way you could just like knock me out so while I'm at work, I just think I'm fishing or something like that? And I'm wondering if maybe that was like revealing the method.
Oh my gosh, it
That
totally
came out in
was.
like
Yeah.
1999.
So like I haven't gotten to the end of this series yet, but I guess on one of the episodes that I just watched, that one of the ladies was sort of starting to figure out something wasn't quite right, and she wanted to get like break out of this whole realm, and she ended up
She got
being
red pilled.
she ended up being hanged. So they don't
So is
let
it a
people out.
dystopian future?
It's dystopian, not necessarily future, but maybe present.
It's dystopia now,
Yeah,
which we do live in.
yeah. And I don't know.
Oh, so she got hung for just going,
I
is
think
it?
I want out of this type of thing, you know? I think there's something else going on. I don't know.
That sucks.
I
They get mad
start,
if you say that.
yeah. But I start thinking about like, okay, 9/11, the Twin Towers, you can watch those videos and you can see how the building just like there's an explosion and then the building just like crumbles down. Doesn't look like
And there's
plain ruin.
explosions as it's going down.
Yeah,
Like it got destroyed on purpose, like they do in Vegas with the old
right.
casinos.
So if that's the case, somebody had to go in there with the explosives. So this is like the person that would be brain chipped. This team of people
Yeah, because you're
would be
sitting
brain
there
chipped.
installing like high explosives on the building, and you're going, I
There's
wonder
no
what this is for.
there's no good reason for that.
No,
You know what I mean? Like
there's like,
there's nothing that your boss could tell you that would be good coming from that,
and from what
So
I understood, because I heard like a civil engineer, he was talking about how they in Vegas, like let's say like the Sands back in whenever the Sands was destroyed, I think it was like the 70s or something.
Mhm.
They go, okay, we're going to build a new casino here, and we're going to destroy this one. And they show the video of the old Sands collapsing completely down,
Mhm.
perfectly, just like a 9/11.
Mm.
And he says that's a whole series of detonations that takes place.
Right.
So it wasn't just like one bomb. It was like several dudes had to do kind of a lot of work.
On a lot of floors.
And they just had to be just like when they got home that day, their wife goes, "Well, how was your day?" Well, I installed explosives on a building where thousands of people work in a city of like 10 million people. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you want chicken or do you want pizza? You know, because she must be brain chip too. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe
Yeah.
like it's sexually transmitted. So
Yeah. The brain chip goes into her.
he inserts his brain chip somehow. Oh my God, that's such a good point because you know what? How? Because
They pull off all of these things, like 9/11, the cooties fiasco, Las Vegas, all the wildfires, that we've seen.
and that's like my dad. He like when I would always tell my dad these conspiracy theories, and he'd go, Mikey, there's no way. Oh,
that,
he'd go, there's no way that they could do that without writing a book about it, right? There's no way that somebody wouldn't come out and do an interview or have some kind of
right. So what he was saying, this was the problem I was having with all of this until I had this revelation. So somebody would come out and talk about these things, but if they were brain chipped, or if you want to just like ignore the brain chip idea, brainwashed, mind controlled, they could conceivably be doing these things and then not really have any recollection. They
Could they?
go to work and do them and then come home and they're like, yeah, let's order a pizza.
And isn't that completely conceivable when you look back at that video that you and I watched about Sirhan Sirhan, where so that dude that worked for the CIA went and interviewed him like several times in the mid 80s, early 90s. So he's sitting down with Sirhan Sirhan in jail and he's talking with him. And this dude from the CIA was in charge of their like hypnotizing. That was what he specialized in, is like, I know how to hypnotize people really well, which is kind of
It's
gnarly.
kind of creepy.
Like the CIA.
He's probably brain chipped.
Yeah. Like the CIA has a guy whose like specialty is
The head
hypnotizing.
hypnotizer.
Yeah. So he's talking with Sirhan Sirhan. Why is he talking to Sirhan Sirhan, who like carried out the shooting of RFK back in 1968, right? So he's talking with him and he's kind of asking him what happened on that day. And on that day, he got pinched. And then once he got pinched by that lady at the bar, all of a sudden now he's disassociative. So in his mind, he's someplace completely different. Could that one instance be like a microcosm of what they're doing on a mass level?
This is what I think. I think that they have a lot of people that are being pinched. So
And so maybe they don't all need brain chips, but maybe the brain chip is like when you hardwire somebody and there's no way that they're going to come out of it.
right.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the brain chip is like what, like we can kind of brainwash people just with suggestion and we can kind of just use our minds. And we can use the media. Like the media can brainwash people
for sure.
really gnarly.
We saw that.
We saw that. But people who are brainwashed by the media could be red pilled. Whereas if you give them a hardwire, maybe it's red pill proof.
Yeah. You'll never break out of it.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
That's why Elon's like, well, we're just going to place electrodes in the skull. And it's like, that sounds so, first of all, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm just going to have a hole drilled in my skull and then you're going to plant like whatever in my brain, and then I'm going to be like laying in bed at night and like downloading information from the web.
Yeah, from the cloud.
Yeah. That sounds kind of lame. Like the way I kind of like it is I can turn my computer off and go to bed.
Yeah.
No, you don't ever turn the computer off.
You won't be turned off until they want to turn you off.
They turn you off.
They'll decide remotely to turn you off.
And as a matter of fact, that might be coming quicker than you think.
You know what it is? And actually, I saw something really creepy. I experienced something creepy the other day. I was at Whole Foods, which, is total cult headquarters.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody that works there is like, they're like cult zombies. Have you noticed that?
They might be brain chipped.
They're probably all brain chipped. So they go home and they're like, I have no idea what I did today.
It'd be funny.
But I ate my sprouts and my green drink.
It'd be funny if you're like taller than the checker and you're like looking in her head and you're like, oh.
You see the little scar.
You're like, take a picture of it really quick?
Do you know what I saw, though? It was really kind of horrifying.
At Whole Foods?
This has probably been there for a while, but I don't go there very often. So I went to pay at the self checkout, where there's just like a machine where there's no actual like person that you deal with.
Yeah.
And the little like thing that you put your credit card through, the modem or what, I don't know what is that thing. On the screen, it said pay with your palm. And it had a picture of like a hand. It said, pay with your palm, just scan your palm here. So they're already implementing this at like Whole Foods, like that you could just put your palm up. And I think that this is to get people accustomed to the idea of having a chip. Like right now, I guess these people have like, scanned their palm into the system. I haven't done that, but
you have all these that if you'll notice like your bank and some other software that you use will ask you, do you want to use biometric login? You don't have to use passwords anymore. And that's kind of the way they sell it. It's like, you don't want to have these cumbersome passwords.
Convenient.
Just use your retina scan.
Use your retina scan, use your palm.
Use your
You don't
palm.
even need a purse or a wallet anymore. You can just, we'll just put a chip in
Yeah.
your wrist, and then all you have to do is just have yourself. Unless somebody cuts off your hand, you'll be fine.
You don't even need a wallet. You can just leave and go out all day and just use your palm to buy stuff.
Because it's so inconvenient to carry a wallet or a purse around. It's so cumbersome, so.
But what they don't say is that once you get this inside, you're not going to be able to think for yourself. And you'll probably go carry out really evil acts without even thinking twice. But you'll be able to go to Whole Foods and you won't even have to worry about paying.
Right. And not to mention that, it could suddenly get turned off too. I mean, there's that.
If you say something wrong, we'll just go ahead and turn you off.
Yeah. So you can't buy your green drink and your Sprouts.
Nothing. But we don't talk about that because you're going to be brain chipped and you'll never say anything we don't want you to say.
Right. You're only going to say what we want you to say.
I mean,
you'll think the way we want you to think.
Once you start thinking thoughts that kind of color outside the lines, we just kind of calibrate you.
Yeah, we curate your thoughts.
Tim Cook is in charge. And he tells you, Mike, that's not a good thought that you're having.
Let's curate these thoughts. Oh my gosh.
That's an interesting revelation.
Yeah.
Well, what makes it interesting is that it's on a show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, usually you might say, oh, well, that's just fiction. They're just making that up. Are they?
Well, we seem to see a lot of these shows and movies where this science fiction, like dystopian theme seems really sci-fi and out there. And then like a couple years or maybe even just like a few months later, the actual like idea from that movie seems to be actually happening in real life. You know what I mean?
You know what I watched?
Like we've seen that happen a bunch of times.
You know what I watched the other day? World War Z.
Ooh, okay. You were talking about that.
I'm a huge Brad Pitt fan. I'm not ashamed to say.
I haven't seen it.
So World War Z is not Brad Pitt's finest hour.
Oh.
It's not, I didn't really like it that much. It's not a great movie. It's a typical zombie movie.
Well, zombies are coming.
It was kind of like Walking Dead, and it was kind of like 28 Days Later.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's this notion that suddenly there's an outbreak of zombifying everybody, and everybody's becoming zombies. What's going on, right?
Well, that's an idea that I think they're trying to normalize too.
Yeah.
When everybody starts becoming obviously zombies.
And maybe that might tie into what we're talking about with the brain chips. Maybe the brain chips turn people into pretty much like, for all intents and purposes, zombies. But the zombie thing aside, the plot of World War Z included the World Health Organization and the UN, and they were the good guys, saving us from the evil virus.
Well, they have to like make it out like they didn't do anything wrong in the end.
And there's a bioweapons lab.
Oh, interesting.
That's where, and the bioweapons lab, of course, is doing the good work that saves the world.
Oh, right.
And notice that came out in I think 2012.
Oh.
And remember 2012 is when the Olympics had that weird opening ceremony in England.
Everybody was getting like shots and pokies and they were in like hospital beds.
Yeah,
that was the entertainment.
Yeah.
That was so weird.
That was really a weird opening ceremony.
Yeah.
It wasn't entertaining. It was kind of like just troubling.
Yeah.
And it was clearly a message. I don't really know what the message was, but it was clearly like, this isn't entertainment. This is a message.
Well, looking back on that now, we can see that they were trying to show us what was to come, because all these people getting poked in real life with the cootie stuff and like being in hospital beds.
Look at how they kind of planted the seed too for all the people who think that Hollywood is all good.
Mm-hmm.
And if Harvey Weinstein has you up in his hotel room at 3 a.m, he just wants to talk about your contract. But those are the people who they're kind of conditioning, and they're saying, hey, by the way, the World Health Organization is good.
Mm-hmm.
The UN is good. And these bioweapons labs, which now I just read this book by Francis Boyle. You know who that is?
Yeah.
You know Francis Boyle?
Yes.
He wrote Resisting Medical Tyranny, and that's his latest book. He wrote it like 22, 23 probably. and in the foreword of the book, he says that there's over 430 of those bioweapons labs that we fund around the world.
Mm.
And they'll have like a weird thing happen in like West Africa. They'll just like, well, Ebola just kind of escaped somehow. And then like people start bleeding out of their eyes and then, but they contained it.
Yeah.
And I think what they're doing is like testing out stuff on people.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because they kind of look at like Africans as like test subjects.
Yeah.
It's like we can just kind of test on those
So
people.
gross.
And we've got all these bioweapons labs in Ukraine, which is kind of weird.
But it's interesting how you were saying how in that movie they make it out like, they're the good guys.
Well, that's how the movie ends. So
Yeah.
the UN and the World Health Organization are the saviors. They're the ones managing the crisis.
Oh, yeah.
And then Brad Pitt, in the end, goes into a bioweapons lab and gives himself a shot that makes him impervious and the zombies can't see him anymore.
Well, I wonder if they have shots like that. They probably do. But you know what?
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's funny because I haven't gotten to the end of this Severance series, so I'm really curious to see how they're going to end it. Like, are they going to end it with like something realistic, which is like what they're really doing, or are they going to end it, and make it out like they're the good guys? Because so I watched, have you heard about that movie, Fly Me to the Moon, about the moon landing?
No.
So that is super interesting because I think what's going on now, how people are a lot more, people are noticing stuff more now and they're more aware of things because, we have the internet and stuff like that. They're not as easily fooled or gullible.
You mean people might actually question that some dude was talking to the people on the moon with a wired phone back in 1969? People actually think that might be fake?
They think it might be fake. And I think a lot more people now are asking that question.
How could you come to that conclusion?
I don't know. They look at the pictures and they kind of go, it kind of looks fake and like the shadows and stuff.
Buzz Aldrin's just like hitting a 6-iron. It's like, that's exactly what I would do.
And they're like driving a little car around on the moon. Like, how did they get that car out of the rocket ship? And I mean,
there's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions.
And then now, did you see the newest one was, they said it's been proven that the rocks that the astronauts said they brought back from the moon were actually from Antarctica.
Oh, I know.
Because
which is a whole other
the dude that was like studying the rocks right before, so 6 months before the moon, the rocket goes up to the moon. He's part of that program. He's been working on it for 10 years, but he's going to take a vacation for 6 months down to Antarctica right before it.
Oh, interesting.
And then come back with a bunch of rocks. Mm-hmm. And then he says, these are from the moon. And you can't go to Antarctica, but just trust me.
Well, so did you see this movie, Fly Me to the Moon?
No.
Okay. Well, so I think...
Is it a documentary?
No, it's starring Scarlett Johansson and like Channing Tatum, and it's like a big Hollywood movie, and they make it out like they're showing us. I think what they're trying to do is they know so many people are now questioning the moon landing that they had to make this movie like to sort of defend the whole narrative.
Make it sound ridiculous.
So what they do in this movie is they have this lady, is she's like this big ad exec, and the government hires her to come in and basically sell the whole propaganda around the moon and how great it is. We're uniting the country. So it's a big like ad campaign basically, which is what it was. And they had like posters and commercials, and they had like, they gave the astronauts all these they gave them like Omega Watch Company had special watches made with like NASA on it and stuff, and they were selling those. And so it was like a huge thing that was happening in the world at the time, and they made it out to be a big glamorous.
And you had to brainwash everybody into thinking it was real.
Thinking it was going on. And telling them how great it was. And so then at one point, the guy from the government tells this ad lady, like, we're just a little worried that maybe, the filming, when they film the actual landing, it might not really look really good. It might not turn out right. So we want to have like a fake one so that we can have that to show the American people.
Nothing to see here.
No, no, no. Just, but like directors and stuff, right? And she's like, you want me to fake the moon landing? So she hires this director and they set up a whole sound stage, make it look like the moon. And they, hire actors and they all have to sign like NDAs and stuff like, well, we won't talk about this or whatever. And so this whole story is basically like showing that they faked the moon landing, right?
Interesting.
But here's the clincher.
Okay.
So you're thinking like, wow, they're actually showing what they did. They're showing that they faked the moon landing and they're going to like basically show everybody like, yeah, this is what happened.
Mhm.
But in the end, the real filming turned out okay. So they were able to show the real moon landing to the people and they didn't actually show
So don't worry.
the one that you saw
the
was the real
brainwashing
deal.
that we gave you originally is still what you want to be brainwashed by.
Yeah, the fake one that we filmed, that we didn't have to end up using that one because the real one ended up turning out okay.
Well, that's kind of like World War Z. It's like the way it ends, it's like, no, but don't change your brainwashing. This was just maybe what if your brainwashing was wrong.
Yeah, yeah. So I think with that, I think what they basically tried to do was just discredit everybody who says the moon landing is fake because all the like zombified people in the world today probably saw that movie and they were like, oh yeah, okay, I see how it was. All those people talking about fake.
So
all those people talking about fake are just they're out.
So when somebody goes up to them and says, "Was Stanley Kubrick?" Because I heard Stanley Kubrick was involved.
I think so.
Was Stanley Kubrick hired to fake the moon landing so that we would think we were on a globe rather than a flat Earth?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, "Oh no, you don't understand. That was that was what was gonna happen."
Yeah.
But the moon landing ended up working out okay.
Yeah. They'll say,
"Oh, good."
Didn't you see that movie? We saw how it really went down.
Yeah,
they did that as backup, but the real one is what we saw.
Yeah, it's okay. You've been duped, but I know the truth.
Yeah,
it's like, well, actually, it's the opposite.
Yeah,
maybe.
But so that would be another case for like brain chips and brainwashing because like, what about those astronauts who went to the moon supposedly? Like, do you think that they were all like in on it and like?
Maybe
they think they went to the moon, or
this is what I was thinking,
and they just agreed to.
Well, Sirhan did his shooting in 1968, so they kind of mastered brainwashing by then.
Right.
So 1969, could Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong been disassociative?
I think maybe,
and maybe they were like hallucinating that they went to the moon.
Yeah.
And so they aren't really lying when they go on Johnny Carson. They believe that they went up there. Yeah. But what really happened is they just took a little mental journey.
Yeah. Or they put them in like one of their training capsules and shook them up real good for a few hours. And then like, put them out on the sound stage or like somewhere in like the desert. And
what if the brain chips were already in play back then? Yeah. Like we actually invented brain chips back in like 1948. It seems like everything got really invented like in 1948. Have you ever noticed? Like everything gnarly was invented back in the 40s.
Yeah.
But
have you ever seen, I think it was Buzz, I would say Buzz Lightyear.
It was Buzz Lightyear. That's so funny.
I think it was him on some interview where this little girl was like, well, how come you never went back or, whatever. And he's like, well, because we never went. Did you ever see that?
No way.
He's like, he looks like he's like having a brain chip kind of malfunction.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And what if that's what, Elon, he's coming out and he's like, well, we had to make some modifications because some of the brain chips malfunction after 40 years.
Some people started like having flashbacks.
Well, like if you have it installed at like 21, maybe by the time you're 73, it starts to kind of wear out.
Yeah.
They have to go and kind of like give you a fresh one. It's like getting a new headlight.
Yeah.
Well, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I think we have to start really paying attention to when they reveal the method.
Mm-hmm.
We need to watch these as obnoxious as Channing Tatum is. We have to watch these movies because they're telling us. They have to tell us.
They have to tell us. And I think it's funny though that they had to end that movie in that way. Like they had to cover their ass. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
we can't,
that's the programming.
yeah, we
Like,
can't end it like we're actually showing that we faked it. We kind of like change it a little bit and show like, oh no, we didn't actually fake it after all, but it looked like we did.
well, that's kind of like the Matrix. It's like the happy ending is the two dudes who wrote it became women. So that's what red pilling really means.
Yeah.
It's like you realize that you're a woman. That's the red pill.
Oh.
It's like, I don't know if that was the takeaway I caught from it, but that's kind of what they kind of want a lot of people to take away from it.
Right.
Because they have to reveal the method, but they don't really want you to start seeing
Too
how
much.
the sausage is made.
Yeah.
You know?
They don't want you to see too much.
No. That's interesting. I might have to go watch that movie. But World War Z and Fly Me to the Moon both sound like they are predictive programming.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know,
would say so.
predictive programming, where they're going, this is going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Or, I mean, Fly Me to the Moon was probably like revealing the method because
it was looking
it
back.
already happened.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, by the way, this is what really happened. I'm starting to think that NASA is kind of evil.
I kind of think they might be like a money laundering scheme.
They get a lot of money every
They
year.
get a lot
And
of
if we're
money.
not going up to space, where's all that money going?
That's what I'm wondering. And so it makes me think that all those people that work there, like those astronauts and all those NASA people, like maybe they're all brain chipped.
They have to be.
They go to work and they think they're doing, like in this show, they all like go and sit at these computer screens and put something in a box and take something else out of a box. And it's just like this really mundane, weird thing. And like maybe the astronaut NASA people are
If you're
doing
getting
something
paid-
like that.
If you're getting paid 250 grand a year
Yeah.
and you have a solid gold retirement, then maybe some people don't have to be brain chipped. They just go,
Some
I'm not going to ask any
some
questions.
people might be like that. But you know what? I really do actually think there's something to this brain chip idea or brainwashing idea
I do too.
because I think if there were all those people just kind of like, I don't really care. I just want my paycheck. I think too many secrets would get out.
Somebody
You know what I
might
mean?
say, you
Somebody
know
would
what?
say
I won
something.
the lottery. Now I don't need my job anymore.
Mhm.
And now I'm going to come out and do a tell-all book.
Right.
But if you're
Or,
brain chipped, you're never going to do that.
right. Or they want like a big paycheck to do a tell-all book because they didn't win the lottery.
You know what? The brain chip analogy is kind of like a slave that you don't let escape from the plantation, right?
Yeah.
The plantation is the narrative.
Hmm.
You're not allowed to go escape.
Right.
And God forbid, you're not allowed to have sex with the master's wife. So any of those things could happen if you weren't brain chipped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think the brain chip or the brainwashing is insurance
It's insurance
for the
because
leaders.
somebody might break free. Well, that was really awesome.
That was interesting. I think we'll be getting more
I
into
like
this.
the way that one show that you were watching kind of had a lot of pieces kind of fit into
Fall into
there.
place. You know what? It actually like made me feel good in a way because I feel like I've maybe come up with a piece to the puzzle.
You know what
You
I'm
know?
noticing about you is you're getting very good at critical thinking. Very good. You're starting to watch things and start to go, okay, what is really being shown to me here?
Hmm.
Or even seeing people's behavior and being able to kind of discern what's really going on with that person. You know, I think the more that we ask these questions, the more it's kind of like scales are falling from our eyes.
Right.
And we're starting to go, whoa, I'm starting to like see through lies.
A lot. Hmm.
Like lies aren't really affecting us anymore.
Yeah.
What if that's like, because in the end of World War Z, Brad Pitt gets the shot, and now not only is he incredibly good looking, but the zombies don't see him anymore. What if they're kind of, in a way, revealing the method of how we beat the cult is you get discernment and you no longer are
You're
you're
immune.
impervious to lies.
Yeah.
And once you're impervious to lies, then the zombies can't see you anymore. And now you can, because what does Brad Pitt do then? He goes and saves the world because he injects them with the injection, and that makes them invisible to the zombies, right?
Right.
So maybe that's what we're doing with our podcast.
We're going to save the world.
We're going to save the world. That's what I've always felt like that was kind of our goal, right?
Well, I think that is a perfect place to end this episode.
That was a great
It
episode.
was. And I can't wait to go down the next rabbit hole.
Okay. Well, it was good seeing you again.
It's good seeing you.
Okay. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Okay.